never got the mic fixed from Friday.
Gosh, that was awful.
It was awful. Yeah.
It wasn't enough that it was a legal talk discourse the whole time, but that we had to have
Yeah, that's
audible
crazy. Whatever.
electronic litigation between the mic and,
Yeah.
and the presenter.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty severe.
some heavy interference.
When we take care of it, they want to redo the whole system. So that's something council's going to have to decide. Alrighty.
It's only money.
It's only money. That's right. Can't take it with you.
Right now, I don't have a little fuel.
Yeah. No, that'd be.
They're motivating. Yeah.
Very
Just like when you get a mortgage and then your company sells it.
Eric,
Yes.
excuse me, I have 7.
Oh, yes.
Do I need to wait for that clock, or is it?
Oh, no,
No,
you're
we're
good.
We're good to go.
Okay.
It's
all right.
recording.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is the June 3rd meeting of the Board of Adjustments, and we're going to have the invocation and pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I need to go ahead and change the formatting, the online system that we use.
Oh, that's right.
Use
You did
copies
just
over councils.
Didn't even pay attention to it till just now.
Yes.
Okay.
This next time it'll be.
We're not, okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Members present are Blackwood, John, James, Hill, and Kirkland. Absent is Jean Holt and Robert White. Okay, our first item of business is to consider the approval of the following minutes from the meeting of May 6, 2019. Has everyone had an opportunity to review them? Are there any questions or concerns about the minutes? Makes it look like we were here long, but I like that.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't either this time. Okay.
But I do so you.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay. All right, if there are no changes recommended, then I take a motion to approve these minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Then I'll second.
Okay. All right, motion made by Ms. Blackwood, seconded by Mr. James. All those in favor, please signify. So Ms. Blackwood, 5-0. Thank you. Okay, the next portion is our public hearing. This time we will talk to our county staff first about the public hearing considering the situation going on for abatement in the structure at 457 Stone Canyon Drive.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. As the board knows, this was brought to your attention last month. And during that time, last month, the board voted to table this process for the property owners at that time and allow them to gather a couple of bits of information for them. One would have been a structural engineer report on the foundation and the structure itself, and then some type of financing so that they could show that they could be able to complete that home. As of Friday, the property has been sold. The new property owners are here tonight. They're going to present their side of what they have, and they have, unfortunately, at the last minute been notified of what the board had rendered for what they need to provide. So they do have a lot of the information that is being asked of. The Foxes, who were not here, sent me an email, and I'm going to read this for you. It says, he addressed it to me, but he said, unfortunately, I won't be able to attend the hearing tonight, but I was hoping that I could leave the following statement for the board. I really do appreciate the city's decision last hearing to allow us time to get financing and the engineering report. We really love Sunnyvale and wanted to do anything that we could to make this work, but our top priority is to comply with the city's requirements. Unfortunately, we had a few holdups with our contractor, and we have decided that this puts our time schedule too tight. We quickly switched gears and sold the house to a builder better equipped to meet all of the city's requirements so that we can make sure this house gets completed in the best interest of everyone. I have made sure to very clearly communicate to them the requirements the city has, as I am sure Doug has as well. And although we wish things could have been different, we feel that this is the right thing to do for our neighbors in the city and wish all the best for everyone who owns that house. Again, my wife and I really appreciate you and the city's time and understanding throughout all of this. We would have loved to have lived in Sunnyvale, but it looks like the timing is not right at the moment, but hopefully we will be able to later down the road. And he signed it, kindest regards, Mr. Greg and Laura Fox. And so with that being said, what has actually transpired is because he could not get the funding and get everything in place like we were asking, he put it out on the auction block. So he sold it to a wholesale company, and that wholesale company then put it out on bid, and how do you say your last name?
Cervantes.
Cervantes, there you go. Mr. Cervantes was the winning bid. He was awarded the property, and so he closed on it Friday. I received a call from his mother today asking what she needed to do to move forward with getting a permit. I highly recommended that they show up to tonight's meeting. So with that being said, I do know this family. I have worked with them in the past in Lancaster when I was a building inspector. I inspected their home. They build a good quality product. From what they've told me, they have all the information that the board is requesting. They have proof of funds. They do have an engineering letter. It was basically just on the foundation itself. But I told them the board may want to require them to get one on the structure also, because that was one of the requirements. But I told them in good justice, I think the board would allow a few more days for that. With that being said, they're willing to come to the office tomorrow. They were willing today to be able to obtain a permit to go ahead and get this thing started. He's ready to go to work. He has the necessary trades ready to go to work. He is also aware that we have a timeline that we have to get it completed by. He said that's not a problem. So with that being said, we would not recommend demolition at this time with them providing all the information, but I'd like for the board to hear their side of it, because they actually were not really aware of what had to be provided because the wholesaler did not provide that information to them. And so our recommendation would be to hear their side of the story and then render a decision that would move forward for the best in Sunnyvale.
All right, thank you. So, anybody have any questions or concerns for Doug?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
You still recommend a structural report, right?
Yes, I would still recommend a structural report on the structure just for the viability of it, for it sitting there as long as it has. I've been in the structure several times. It is dried in. It does look comparable on the inside, but I would rather have a professional structural engineer state that. And there may be some little bit of repairs that do need to be done, and I would prefer the structural engineer to make that recommendation.
All right. We'll open the public hearing then. The applicant would come forward up to the mic, please. If you can give us your name and your address, please.
Michael Cervantes. My home address is 1701 West Main Street, Lancaster, Texas. I just, first of all, Mrs. Hill and fellow board members, I want to thank you, first of all, for sacrificing your 7 o'clock tonight. You probably already had dinner plans, or maybe you were anticipating your next Netflix series, whatever you were going to. So I just want to say thank you for everybody coming tonight on behalf of this project. But I made an offer on or about May 6th for the house. I won the bid. As he was saying, we closed on it on Friday. I was told that within 120 days it needed to be completed. I was also told that there needed to be an engineer involved on getting a report and the funding. What they didn't include was that it was going to be demoed if I didn't, So we're just learning that today, but we've already been anticipating starting and ready to comply with whatever you guys need. So obviously we are at your mercy. But all this information has just come to us. Really, you don't count the weekend as business days. So really, in the last 48 hours, we've been dropped this information. So we just thank you guys for reconsidering, and it's gracious that you guys are even thinking about allowing us to continue. The home does promise to be a beautiful product, and I think it could only increase the value of the houses and the community at large. So with that being said, thank you again.
Do you plan to live in the house or? Are you
Great
going to
question.
sell?
I'm a contractor. I build homes and sell them. The house that he inspected, which we so love, we just got an offer. Somebody walking on foot came and offered us a good amount of money to make us, to catch our attention. And so as I showed this to because I live with my parents, so as I showed that to them, my mom said, well, maybe we won't flip this one. Maybe we'll actually move into it. Because we will need a place to live in about five months, So it's kind of up in the air. I love the community. My daughters love the fact that there's 2 pools, right? So those kind of things are pluses for us. So it's still kind of up in the air, but we have every intention of starting as soon as possible. So
Do you foresee any difficulty in getting a structural engineer to review the home?
not at all. The engineer that provided the foundation is also capable of doing that as well. I just didn't know to ask him for that. So of course I'll pay him double, right? And he'll very kindly, provide that for us as well. So.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
When could you provide that?
He responded pretty quickly once I got the information this morning. I believe he could probably go back out there again tomorrow, and do his testing and whatever they do as engineers.
I guess this is a question for both you, Doug, and you. Is it 120 days from now or 90? We weren't sure.
Typically, it's the ordinance reads as 90. We can extend it to 120. After 120 days, they would have to come back to you, the board, to ask for an extension. So as the authority having jurisdiction and the building official, we can extend it from the 90 to 120.
Mr. Savant, what do you think the construction period will be, the completion period?
Well, we normally build a custom home like that in about 6 months, and it's 60% complete. So I think 120 days would be sufficient. There is a dilemma with trying to contact the original tradesmen because they kind of know what they've done so far. But I have guys, I have licensed plumbers, electricians, HVAC guys. I don't know if y'all are aware, but there's a geothermal system in place there, which is a huge upgrade that most people like myself can't afford. But we're looking forward to taking full advantage of that because it's 90% complete. I think it lacks a thermostat for that whole system. So
Do you plan to take the current plans as they are?
Yes,
for this
sir.
home and just complete it as designed?
I'm pretty picky when it comes to aesthetics, so I'm not totally on board with how they have some of the exterior, but I think if we're still in 80 masonry, 20% siding, I don't know if
Actually,
that,
90.
is it 90-10?
It's
Okay,
90.
wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's 90% masonry here with 10% hardy plank. You can go up to 40% stucco.
Okay.
That's part of the 90.
And there are some stucco elements to this house. I just think, like, for instance, in particular, there's like 2 stone stripes that they have on this front elevation. I wouldn't particularly build it that way. So whether we do it all masonry or all stucco, we probably won't be having that aesthetic stripe in the front. Other than that, I think we're pretty on board with what we see on the elevations.
And just to let you know, once this moves forward, if y'all do render to give him the time to do what he needs, he will have to submit any type of changes that he's going to make from the original plans that were set forth and approved back in 2015.
Since we have it on our agenda to consider the demolition, we would be dismissing this action, but we would actually have to give additional instruction to permit the 90 days and to do the structural engineering
Yes.
report. Okay, that's why I just wanted to make sure, since it wasn't really written then for a resale. I wanted to make sure. Anybody else have any questions or concerns for the applicant or for Doug? Okay, if nobody has any questions, I would entertain a motion to dismiss the action of demolition at 457 Stone Canyon and to make additional recommendations as we've discussed.
I support that motion.
Okay. And that's with the structural engineer report and a 90-day bid.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, Mr. James made the motion, Ms. Blackwood seconded, to dismiss the demolition arrangements that we have this meeting for, and we also provide the owners an additional 90 days with the addition of a structural engineering report due to the town staff as quickly as possible. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, all those opposed? 6-0, also for the record, Mr. White entered about 17, I think it was too close. Okay, all right, thank you, that's it.
No, thank you guys. We greatly appreciate it. Look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Look forward to it, thank you. Okay, good. We get to adjourn. At 7:15.
May I add one more question?
Oh, sure.
When does this 90 days begin? When does the clock start ticking?
Today.
Today? Okay. All right. We'll get on that, the structural part. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
So what I would do, get over your engineer, get him out there and do that. Is that a copy? If you want to see me, that's fine. You know, me a copy, get the structural engineer.
Well, that's true.
So Doug can go ahead and